All right, hey guys, about to go into the second match of a 8th edition draft. Our deck is kind of a weird one. You probably know that since you probably watched round one. We won one game with Ensnaring Bridge and the other with the turn 5 Thorn Elemental, so, you know, it's a little different. Ooh, I think this is a mulligan. No white, and we have Story Circle and Diving Griffin and Sword Dancer, who can be pretty mana intensive. Not double green either, and we have Giant Badger. Like, the only card we can play in our hand if we draw a third land of any kind is Lone Wolf, and he's not especially good, so that also is not good. So I think we're going to have to send that back. And I guess we keep this. If we can get a land on top, we're in pretty great shape. And we have one on top. And it's a pretty ideal one because it produces two of our colors. So that's pretty nice. And we can kind of go with the bridge strategy here. Like, especially because we mulliganed. Our deck has less cards than our opponent does. So by a considerable amount, even though we were drawing first. So even if we growth, we're on track to have less cards than our opponent. At least after the first rampant growth. So we're going to go for rampant growth. Now I think we get... we have double green and double white. So I think we just grab our one island with it. So... and then we end our turn. Probably play Diving Griffin first, depending on... If our opponent plays something we need to be blocking right away. Our opponent with red may be rocking like Shock in his deck, which could help finish us off in a game where we drop the bridge and lock the game down. He could also have Lava Axe. So against red, Ensnaring Bridge isn't nearly as good of a strategy. There's one Shock. Shock Troops too. So I mean, basically here we play our Giant Badger and our opponent trades for it with Shock Troops. So it's probably what's going to happen. It would be a good idea for him to do that instead of swinging first because our Badger would get too big to kill in these days where you can't stack damage. Vicio, Sandstalker. I'm guessing you kill my Shock Troops. I mean my Badger with your Shock Troops, and you do. In red, he probably also has at least like one Shatter in his sideboard. So that's worth keeping in mind. We drop our bridge now, pretty clearly, and proceed with that strategy since we didn't get like a hand where we could ramp into something awesome. We got a hand where we sort of just chill, but we could just end up dying to cards like Shock Troops and Lava Axe against an opponent like this. Value. Yeah. Shock Troops is good against the Ensnaring Bridge. That much is true. He may be saying value about the fact that I managed to get an Ensnaring Bridge too, because it is worth a lot. But we'll play our Lone Wolf, and we'll end our turn. At this point, we're going with the mill strategy. We're one card ahead of our opponent because of our mulligans. Our opponent may just have enough Lava Axes and stuff like that to kill us. So luckily we got the bridge down when we were still at 16. We only got hit once by that Sandstalker. So that's good. Ooh. Yeah, that's kind of a rough card to play when your opponent has Ensnaring Bridge out. You're 4 mana, 4/4 who does 4 to you and does nothing. That's brutal. He may have a way to destroy an artifact in his deck, but this also gives us time to draw something like Rod of Ruin, which can help win us the game. So that'll be our wins condition now. It'll kill him more quickly than anything else will, than milling will. So he's mono red, so that is a little scary. Yeah, cards like Volcanic Hammer do exist. So now we're going to go ahead and use our Rod of Ruin to do 1 to him. If we do this, we can't use our Rod for a turn, but I think that's probably okay. Oh yeah, we can. It costs 4 to cast, 3 to use its activated ability. So Blaze is a definite possibility too, unfortunately for me. So it's probably better not to. It's probably better to try to kill him with our Rod of Ruin than anything else. All right, we'll drop another Spined Worm. Use Rod of Ruin again at the end of his turn. He's on a 14-turn clock, guys. All right, so we will once again use Rod of Ruin. I'm trying to think. He can do 2 to us right now with Shock Troops. It can do damage to players, right? Yeah. We're going to drop our Dehydration, of course, because we don't want to have any cards in our hand if we can help it. We'll put it on Lava Hounds, I guess. And we'll end our turn. But if he draws Blaze, he only has to Blaze us for 11. He's at 8 lands right now, so he's still got a little ways to go. Ooh. He's running Sizzle, too. We're in a poor matchup for our Ensnaring Bridge strategy. It may even be worth siding it out. If our opponent's really running this much burn. Although we do have Story Circle, which at this point would completely devastate our opponent, so maybe we can get lucky and draw into that. If we drop Story Circle and name red, it's just basically over. Okay, well that's a problem. Inaba Shaman can slowly kill us. Would have been nice to have that Dehydration to use on a Inaba Shaman, but for now we're just going to hope we draw our Story Circle, I guess. Oh, I papped too much mana. No big deal. I keep thinking it costs 4. Spirit Link. Well, that'll work pretty well on Inaba Shaman. It'll negate the damage he can do to us every turn. So, there's that. And then we will Rod of Ruin him at the end of his turn. He only needs to Blaze us for 8 now, unfortunately for us. So he does have another color in his deck. I wasn't sure if he did. Come on, Story Circle. Healing Salve, also worth siding in against a guy like this. It's basically a counterspell. And we do have at least one of those, so. But we're going to go ahead and use our Rod here. Drop him down to 10. Don't want to play my Cloud Chaser terribly. I think I'll hold on to it for now, actually. He may play an enchantment that I'd rather destroy, and it doesn't make it so any of his creatures can attack if I hold on to it, so I'm just going to hold on to it. If we draw a Rampant Growths, we still have 2 left in our library. We don't want to play them either because now we're at the same place we were in round 1. So, okay. Well, if he had Blaze, he probably would have just used it. So, he could still have it in his deck, of course. Hopefully, it's in the 9 cards he won't draw if the game continues at the rate that it's going. Gain that life back. So, that's good for me. Drop him to 8. Okay, is this a big Blaze? Ooh, it's a Lava Axe. We're getting close, guys. Opponent definitely went with the burn strategy, and that is bad news for our Ensnaring Bridge. Somehow I accidentally untapped. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, yes, I did. Drop him to 8. Okay, Thorn Elemental. That sort of strategy where we just slam an early Thorn Elemental is going to be our best strategy. His burn won't be enough to kill it, so that's good. He may just have another Lava Axe for us now. Do we have any way of gaining life in this deck main board? I'm trying to remember. Oh, we do have, but it's not going to work with Ensnaring Bridge in play. That way of destroying target attacking creature and gain life equal to its power, but it's not going to work with our bridge, obviously. Play the Armadon. Wish I could switch Dehydration and Spirit Link at this point, but what are you going to do? Waiting for a big Blaze to just finish me off. Lava Axe would do it now too, of course. And actually Sizzle would be enough because his Shock Troops would do 2 to me. So he has a lot of cards he can probably draw that would help him. Ooh, yeah, we're dead. All right. So Healing Salve's coming in. Guerrilla Tactics, that'll do it too. All right, so burn may even be worth, like I said, just siding out Ensnaring Bridge. It probably is, sadly. We had a lot of fun with it early, but our opponent's creatures aren't that good, and he's just trying to burn us out. So we want cards like Healing Salve. We only got one, it seems. And the Rod's also not as good in a situation where we've taken that card out of our deck. So I think we side in something else. Flash Counter is actually not terribly bad against this opponent. What do we want here? I don't think we want Twiddle. Holy Day is not bad. It only prevents combat damage, though, I think. Could just go with Mana Leak or Flash Counter. I guess I'm going to go with Mana Leak. I think we're still okay with only one island. Probably. With our 3 rampant growths, I think it's probably okay. Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything else worth bringing in. We didn't get a great sideboard. This Healing Salve is nice, and Spirit Link isn't bad either. I mean, we can put it on our own creature and gain too much life for him to do anything about it. I would like to play first. I think this is a keep. It's not a fast hand, but hopefully we can draw into one of our big creatures, and win that way. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the Vine Trellis first, and in my turn there. Sad our bridge strategy is so poor against burn, and burn is a real strategy in this format, as you just saw. There's just a lot of ways to go to people's domes. All right. I think we go ahead and Rampant Growth. We can hold on to our Cloud Chaser, I think. So we're going to Rampant Growth and get the island, so that if we draw our Dehydration or our Mana Leak, we can play it. And hopefully we draw into one of our monsters in the near future. May just start doming us. Okay, Sandstalker, that's annoying. I probably will play my Cloud Chaser now just so I can chump that thing. Ooh, Story Circle. That's basically good night against this guy. Would have been nice to get it in the last game. We're going to name red. That does mean we're going to take another 4 right now, but it's probably okay. Circle of Protection red would be great. Oh, of course he plays a black creature now. Jeez. And our Cloud Chaser we can't really play because it'll blow up our Story Circle. So it's kind of annoying. But I think we're okay for a while. We've got white mana untapped. We've got Healing Salve too. But our opponent can start hitting us in the face for 2. All right, well, thinning out our deck, I guess. We'll get a Plains. The more white sources we have, the better for our Story Circle. Probably shouldn't have tapped white at all there. That was kind of a foolish move, but if we can get him to have to burn 2 cards to do like 5 damage to us, it's not too bad. I don't think. All right. We will take 2 here, go to 12. All right, well, we drew a way to deal with this guy, which is good. We'll use it probably because he's slowly killing us. Yeah, we'll go ahead and use our Chastise here. Takes us back up to 14. Should not, once again, have tapped as much white as I did. I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing when I have Story Circle in play. Guerrilla Tactics. Yeah, okay. I mean, that basically, they negate one another. I'm not willing to tap white to prevent the damage there. I'll just go back up to 12. There's the hammer. Here I will go ahead and use my story circle. All right, the second hammer hit us. But like I said, we did get him to burn a couple cards, and we can play our Giant Badger now and start putting some pressure on him and start tapping our mana correctly. Canyon Wildcat. Luckily, we do not have mountains, so plus we have story circles, so I guess it wouldn't matter if we did. There's Dehydration. I think we hold on to it for now. We're not in a situation where we really want to be casting it. I guess it would allow me to play my Cloud Chaser, but that doesn't seem super relevant right now. All right, we need to draw one of our big guys to help in this. Although Standing Troops actually right now, pretty good attacker. We are going to go ahead and tap one of our white to play it, but I think that's probably okay. We'll end the turn there. He's got 2 cards in his hand, so and we're at 9 still. All right, that's a good draw too. It's another creature who can get something done. I guess I can actually attack with my Badger too now without too much concern. And now I'll play my Dryad, basically the green version of Canyon Wildcats. All right, opponent decided to scoop. Was probably going to lose that game eventually once we started finally drawing dudes. So that went pretty well. Let's hit Story Circle again and go to the finals. I mean, going turn 5 on a Thorn Elemental or a Craw Worm or something like that would be pretty good too. His deck, it can deal with small creatures, but he'd have to burn 2 or he'd get 2 for 1 on killing our big guys. Spined Worm even, the 5/4. So, right, our opponent is sideboarding. I'll be back with you when the next game begins. Okay. This is an interesting hand. We have all of our colors. We have dudes to play. Do we play them? Do we keep this hand, though? That's the question. We don't have any removal. We don't have our story circle, but I think we do keep it. We can slow down damage on the ground at least, trade for stuff. So I think I'm okay with that. We'll play our palace first, then we'll play the tower. All right, that only spineless thug is going to get in for 2. I could play my Rushwood Dryad. There's no real reason to play the tower right now, I guess. So I think I will play the Dryad, and, at least he has to use a spell on it or something. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't trade with the Thug. Since it can't block, it doesn't slow me down at all in the race. I mean, it does damage to me, of course, but other than that, all right, there's his dude. Luckily, we have our Standing Troops, who we will play now. I think we just hang back. I don't see, well, yeah, let's go ahead and attack. Let's do this. I'll just block the Canyon Wildcats if he swings with it, and then if he wants to use Shock 2, he gets 2 for 1, and then, I'm not too upset with that situation. He does seem stuck on 2 lands, which is rough for him. He's getting in there with both, so he's probably going to use a spell, but I think he'll have to 2 for 1 himself if he does. All right, he did use a spell, so he did 2 for 1 himself. But he did get rid of a guy who would get to attack and be a good blocker, so I don't blame him. We're going to get in for 2 here. I'm going to play this Coastal Tower, and then I'm going to play Lone Wolf. And I'll end the turn. All right. Hey, Crawworm, we're not too far away from you, though we didn't get any of our ramp this time around. So we'll swing. Yeah, we'll be playing Crawworm next turn, I guess. We'll play our Enchantress. I think we take 2 here. Spirit Link, huh? That'll be pretty good on our Crawworm. I guess I could have played it first and made my Enchantress larger. Yeah, we attack with both, though. If I'd put it on my Enchantress, that wouldn't have been too bad. Alright, let's play his big Crawworm. There is a Lightning Blast in this format that could kill it, but it's an uncommon, and he has to have 4 mana. So if he doesn't have a 4th land, I think we're probably in the clear. I definitely block Spineless Thug here, though. Well, do I definitely do it? I guess I don't. It's not really worth it. He can't burn me out with the amount of mana he has, especially when I'm going to gain life. So, yeah, we're definitely slapping Spirit Link on our Crawworm and going to town with that. And also make our Enchantress bigger, so we'll put that on our Crawworm. Makes our Enchantress bigger. And I'll swing with everything. He can't even double block and kill our Crawworm right now, so he's going for a trade there. And just the chump block takes me up to 16. He goes down to 7. And I'll end my turn. Hammer, okay. So he'll take me down to 14 here. I mean, there's no reason he shouldn't swing. But then we go back up to 20, dropping him to 1. And I will play Vine Trellis. And in my turn, if he has a blocker, I mean, the game's still not over. Or, you know, any number. Okay, Shock Troops. He'll be able to block this turn, but since Spineless Thug can't block, he can't, like, sacrifice both of them to kill my Crawworm or anything like that. All right, we're in another situation where we don't really want to be playing our Cloud Chaser. This opponent might have been wise to side it out against. He doesn't really seem to be have a lot of enchantments of his own. We just would be blowing up our own all the time. So he's gonna block here and do 2 to us. But then we gain. Oh, we don't do the damage either actually that time because we sacrificed his guy. So this Crawworm is continuing its assault. All right. He can now double block and kill our Crawworm, sadly. But he'll be at 1 life. I'll also then be able to play Cloud Chaser without too much concern. And the Cloud Chaser represents lethal in the air, so he's going for the double. We'll kill them both. Go back up to 24. Play Cloud Chaser. Our Plains and a Rampant Growth. And we'll get a Forest. And I'll end the turn. So if you can't kill the Cloud Chaser, he's dead. And he is dead. All right, well, game 1 we got rocked when we tried to win with Ensnaring Bridge, but we sided well. And in game 3 we also got some good luck in that our opponent got kind of mana screwed. But we're going into the finals.